I was 17 years old when I enlisted in the Marine Corps.
I was 17 years old when I enlisted in the Navy.
I was 18 years old when I enlisted in the United States Navy.
I was drafted into the United States Marine Corps in January of 1966.
When I was young, I did want to go to college. It was before 9/11, so it was primarily for college benefits.
I decided to enlist in the Navy after hearing my dad say that he regretted not joining the military, and I didn't want to carry that same regret.
I wanted to enlist in the military because I saw a video when I was like 10 years old or 11 years old of an Army commercial.
I served a total from reserve, active duty, and guard 14 and a half years.
I served in the Navy for 8 years.
I served in the military for just over 5 years.
I had a 2-year tour of duty as a draftee. I was sent to Vietnam.
I was deployed to Iraq in 2004 and 2005. Although I was never in direct combat, I was in the theater of operations. We would we would do a lot of convoys because I was a mechanic, and I'd do recovery operations or also be on the gun truck.
As a naval air crewman in the Navy, I was deployed around the world several different times, 3 different times to the Afghanistan theater, once to Southeast Asia, and provided logistical support in various other countries as well, Spain, Italy.
I was deployed one time. I went to Guam. My duties while I was in the military was to be a utilitiesman. I did plumbing and HVAC.
As a draftee, your active duty was for 2 years. I was drafted in the Marine Corps, trained in amphibious tractors, armor. Was sent to Vietnam in April of '66. Spent about half of what ended up being an 18-month tour in the Da Nang area, the second half of it at the Cau Viet River near the DMZ.
One of the biggest things when I came back, I was facing a divorce, and I was worried about losing custody of my daughter. The reintegration process at that point in 2005 wasn't so great.
I know when I first transitioned out of the military, it was very hard. I didn't have any real skills that translated into the civilian side. I was lost. I had no idea what was out there for me.
The reason why it was so difficult for me to transition back into civilian life was because I got kicked out of the military before my enlistment was up. I received a general under honorable conditions discharge. I went to jail for approximately 5 months while I was enlisted.
I returned to the United States in September of '67 and was discharged or released from active duty in December of 1967. Most of the people returning home had received some instructions and warnings. We were aware through news and whatnot of what was going on politically back at home. Things like don't go in public in your uniform, change at the airport or whatever. Everyone that I had socialized with prior to the service did not serve in the military, were actively against the war. And I had a difficult time for a couple of years. A lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol. If it hadn't been because I had a good job before I went to return to when I came back, I probably would not have survived those first couple of years.
From my experience, each veteran does face some type of challenge when it comes back, coming back into civilian life because of the difference of the way work is in military life as opposed to many civilian occupations.
I was alone. I didn't know that I was a veteran per se. Like, I didn't know I had benefits that were accessible to me.
In my case, the resources here in Ventura County have helped me out quite a bit. I was able to utilize the Veterans Treatment Court, and I was able to move on with my life essentially. I went back to school. I was then hired by a legislative office or an elected official's office, and I can return this service in assisting veterans. I was also able to use the Salvation Army's services and to help me get into a home when I was first transitioning out, which was a tremendous help for myself and my family. And I was able to visit the Vet Resource Center, and they helped me just express what I was going through and help me made the transition much easier.
I was part of Veterans Court in 2013 until 2015. So Veterans Court is an opportunity for veterans that get in trouble with the law. For them, because they were in the military, they get the opportunity to not go to jail, but to go into treatment and have their charges either dismissed or dropped or sealed. There was hope that I wasn't in this alone.
I had no intention of ever seeking help or going to the VA. As years went along, because of health issues and other things that went on, and my half-brother's issues with his health and exposure to Agent Orange, the family got on me that I needed to go to the VA. And eventually, because of my health issues, I sought, once we were living here in Ventura, I sought assistance with understanding what I was entitled to and went to the Ventura office, the VSO office. I've gotten significant help from the VSO office, the Vet Center.
Hi, I'm Mike McManus, the County of Ventura's Veteran Service Officer. Ventura County is home to approximately 40,000 veterans, and the Veteran Services Office goal is to improve the lives of every one of those local veterans. I too am a veteran, having served in the United States Air Force for just over 20 years. I know how difficult the transition back to civilian life can be, and I know how easy it can be to feel that you've been forgotten. The resources available through the County of Ventura and our partnering agencies provide year-round services to all veterans. To us, you're never forgotten.
One of the big things that I relay, which one of my therapists told me, is for those that didn't come back, how would you honor that sacrifice and live your life according to that? And that helps me stay grounded as far as what I'm doing at the VSO office is how can I help my fellow veterans in their quality of life, and you know what resources can we lead them to help them get to that point.
My life has been changed drastically since I was younger because of veteran services. I didn't have stability when I was a kid. I didn't have a family when I was a kid necessarily. I was in programs a lot, and since becoming an adult, since participating in the Veterans Court program and the West LA treatment program, recovery has been possible for me. I don't have financial insecurity. I have a community that cares about me. I'm able to be of service to that community as well because I realize what it means to give back now.
We stand together and we support each other. It's what we didn't get or have when we returned from the war, and that was the biggest loss for the Vietnam vets. Finding out when you get into a room of a bunch of guys that were in different services and maybe slightly different times, but you get to discussing and talking and you realize you weren't alone and none of it was unique. And that's a huge healing process when it occurs, as it occurs.
The camaraderie means to me that I'm not alone. It means that I'm loved.